Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another duly noted podcast. Appreciate everybody for clicking on and either watching on Facebook or YouTube or listening on the many podcast platforms that we have. Apple and all those, they are. Everybody knows how to find it, that's for sure. We got a lot to talk about today, and, of course, it's Georgia week, and Robbie Andreu will be in here as a result. We'll talk to him about some games and about what he sees going on here. Florida did announce today that or not Florida, but the SEC announced that the Florida-South Carolina game will be at 7:30 in Columbia, not in the Swamp, as was mentioned earlier by somebody. I don't want to say who, but it wasn't correct. And I went, what? I almost pulled the car off the road. Anyway, all right, so they're going to be playing that game if you were going to go up. And I know it's good in a way because I think that means my golf team will be put together completely for the Stop Children's Cancer Tournament next Saturday. All right, so but obviously we want to talk about Florida, Georgia this week, and certainly a game that brings back tons and tons of memories. A lot of them really bad. None of them worse than Lindsey Scott. That's the one that'll stay in my heart forever. But there have been a lot of them like that. I mean, gosh, I remember in 75, that team was so good, and Doug Dickey's big thing was you got to avoid losing. He wasn't always trying to win. He was trying to avoid losing. And they lost that game on a tight end around pass that they had set up the week before with a tight end around. Really, that's what Vince Dooley used to do, those kind of things. And Florida did not do anything offensively. They just weren't very good, even though they had a great offensive team running the wishbone. That one was stung really bad. 75 and 80, I probably be the order I would reverse order that I would put them in. But then along came these other coaches that were winning every year. 18-3. 18-3. Spurrier. Remember the line from Spurrier? Somebody said, hey, you guys are still 10 games behind Florida or behind Georgia all time in terms of the all-time record. Do you think you can catch them? And Spurrier said, well, 10 years is a long time. He's basically saying, we don't need 11 to get there if I'm coaching, but unfortunately he wasn't. But Ron Zook was 2-1 against them. Then Urban Meyer comes along. He was 5-1 against them, and the one game that he lost probably inspired that team for years with the stump. And then along came these other coaches, and we're all sitting around, and we're just like, you never know what you're going to get. And the funny thing I've been thinking a lot about how last year's game, was the one where we go, hey, Florida's finally caught Georgia. And it really was fool's gold in a way. And when I say that, I mean Georgia had a lot of guys out, a lot of guys injured, although you can't complain about injuries, but still they had a lot of guys injured. I mean, Jordan Davis being the biggest one. I mean, and Florida kept hitting them on that wheel route, though, which is kind of like what LSU just did to Florida, run the same play and keep hitting it. So, the great Kirby Smart didn't figure that out. But we'll see what Florida's able to do with this year because it's a totally different Georgia team and it's a totally different Florida team. They have nothing to do with each other. Last year's game has nothing to do with this year's game. That's I always tell people every game's its own game, and it really is. But Gator fans are sitting there, and they watched LSU play Ole Miss this week, and we went, hey, they can't run the ball against Ole Miss. They couldn't run the ball against anybody else, but they ran the ball against us on the same play. And that's where Gator fans have just about lost it. They're on the edge of the ledge, and they're getting closer and closer. LSU in that game ran for 77 yards. They made them one-dimensional. It's not that hard to do. It really isn't. So that gets people upset. Then you look at just the stats for this year. Georgia's given up 46 points all season. 46. And one of the touchdowns was scored after Kentucky called timeout with 1 second to go just to get a point, just to get a touchdown. So that touchdown doesn't even matter. They've scored 46. You played a team and you gave up 49 against in one game. They've given up 46 total in 1 year. Now, I will say this. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose today. I will say this. I looked it up because I was curious. The stats and level of competition. Georgia really hadn't played a good offense this year. Now you go, well, they opened the season with Clemson. Yeah, they're one of the worst offenses in the country. I wrote it down, but I left it at home. But I do know what the average is. The average of every team they played, the best team they played is Arkansas offensively. And Arkansas is not that great. They're okay. But the average is 80th in the country because they played some softies. I mean, they played some bad offenses, and that's helped their defense. But they still are really good, and that's not even the point. The point is if you get up for every team defensively, that keeps you in every game and makes you usually win most games if your defense is dominant. Defense travels, goes on the road, goes to Jacksonville. And I tell you what, I know everybody's going to say, well, the Gators, this is their chance to spoil Georgia's season. It's a rivalry game, and they'll be all excited, and they'll be fired up, and they'll come out there. I'm like, you don't think Georgia is going to be fired up after what happened last year? They want to show that was a fluke. This is a huge game for Georgia's program. For Florida's program, I'm not sure it is that big a game. It's big, but it's not that big. You win it, what do? Maybe you get the citrus instead of the Outback. Just not that good, not that big a game. The keys are the keys that we always see. Who rushes for more yards? Well, Florida probably will because they run the ball more, but even if they don't, that's not necessarily how you lose a game. I've always thought that was a bad stat because teams that are way ahead tend to run the ball more. But to me, it's the turnovers is a huge thing. Florida's so bad at turning the ball over, so bad at throwing interceptions. We'll see if they're able to do anything about it and get some pressure on the quarterback. But, I mean, it would just be nice if Florida, caused a fumble or if somebody just dropped the ball every once in a while. Why can't that ever happen against Florida? Teams playing Florida, have the greatest ball control. They never, ever drop the ball like you see in other games. It's just it's hard to get too fired up, and yet we've seen crazy things happen in this series. So we'll have Robbie Andreu on just a little bit to talk about that. Also today, Texas Tech fired their coach. He was 5-3. I mean, I think he was 13-17 overall. Matt Wells. I'm sure 90% of you out there were like, "Who is Texas Tech's coach?" So there's another Power 5 job opening. It was crazy last year in a way. How many did open? It was just crazy. That's all I'm saying. It was crazy, but we're going to see even more this year. People, and here's the thing. I heard somebody say this on the radio. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. Somebody was saying, Gator fans have a high expectation. Gator fans expect to play for national championships. And then that same person went on to say, after the Alabama game, I was so happy. I thought we really – whoa, wait a minute. You expect to play for national championships, but you lose by 2 points at home, and you go, I was feeling great that day. I know expectations sometimes can get out of whack here, and they do. There's no doubt about it. But for this team to have won a national championship, I think you all were you were obviously seeing through orange and blue glasses. And I think a lot of us were. Robbie and I are going to talk about how we kind of got fooled a little bit. But I never thought this was a national championship team. I never really thought it was a playoff team. I thought it had a chance to maybe sneak in. I thought it had a chance to win, to go 9-3 at worst. That's where I thought Florida was. But there's something that I like to call the new floor. And the new floor at Florida was established really by Will Muschamp and Jim McElwain. Those miserable seasons when they won 4 games. That's the floor. We know what the floor is. Now you can say, well, they won 0-10 one year. That's a different era, totally different. It's not even part of what this is all about. But there is a new floor, and who knows where this one's going to end. Mullen today on his conference call with the media boys, he got a lot of quarterback questions. Of course, he's not going to tell you who, and I don't blame him for that. And he said, well, is Georgia named theirs? No, okay, I don't have to name mine. Well, I don't care who you're going to start, and to be honest with you, I don't care who you do start. There is a path to win this game, and I think it involves both quarterbacks. I don't think one of them. A lot of people are going to go tell me I'm crazy. I don't know that I want to put AR in that starting quarterback job in Jacksonville. It's crazy there, man. I know that it's half and half, but it's gonna be loud, and there's gonna be a lot of pressure. You don't want to do that, and even if you do, there is a to me, go ahead and start Emory. I know you're gonna get a lot of noise. Bring Anthony in the second series, and then just kind of ride the hot hand. Maybe even do a Spurrier every other play. Maybe not. All right, we have a couple of comments is that from Facebook? Okay, 2 comments from Facebook. Number 1, Nick Juiced wants to know, can this team show some kind of personality and get fired up for Georgia, maybe with AR-15? I think they will get fired up, but as I said before, Georgia's going to be just as fired up, if not more. They're playing for a national title, peeps. They are, and they do not want what happened last year to happen again. And they saw what happened, and it was, I think, they obviously don't want Florida to think that they're at the same level, and they aren't talent-wise. If you just go based on recruiting. Got another comment from Daniel Frederick. This year, Florida has a way of playing to the level of its competition. With that said, I think Florida keeps this one close. Well, you know what? That is a good point, Daniel. They've lost 3 games by 7, 7, and 2 points. It's not like they've gotten blown out or they played down to LSU's level. They played to Kentucky's level. They let Kentucky win that game in a way that Kentucky could win it, but not. There were other ways that Florida just doesn't do all the bad things they do. They win the game because they're better than Kentucky. Let's face it, they're still better than Kentucky. They just can't find ways to win games, and that's what the problem for this team is. They find ways to lose games. All right. Before we bring Robbie out, we are going to go to our Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack. Alex Wesley Construction, love where you live. And we always love Alex Wesley Construction. In fact, I need to get him out to the house a couple days. The Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack, not a lot of changes, but a few movement. Georgia's still number 1, and that number 1 in every poll. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. They picked a good year to be really good. That's all. That's the way it is. I mean, I got Oklahoma at 2. I think Oklahoma is, I don't know. I still don't know about Oklahoma. Number 3, Alabama. Number 4, Michigan. I'm sold a little bit on Michigan, but I tell you what, it's going to come down to what they do this week against Michigan State, and then, of course, the Ohio State game. Number 5, Cincinnati. I'm still not 100% sold on Cincinnati. Number 6, Wake Forest, and I put them up there just for the fun of it. Look, you score 70 points and only have the ball for 17 minutes, you get into my top 6, especially when you're undefeated. Number 7, Ohio State, although after this week, who knows. 8, Michigan State. And again, Michigan State's undefeated. I know that. You don't have to tell me that. we'll see what they do against Michigan. Then that's going to define what happens here. 9 Ole Miss. Ole Miss showed how you defeat a crappy team that's in disarray. That's what they did this week. They beat LSU. Number 10, Oregon. That was a good game today, this weekend too. Number 11, Notre Dame. I don't know about Notre Dame. It's almost like they've dropped off the radar because I don't know if it's because of their schedule. I mean, you have USC, but did anybody even watch the Notre Dame USC game? I didn't. I think I watched one play. Just one, and then number 12, Iowa. I put them back up there. Iowa's good. They're not great. So that is the Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack. Alex Wesley Construction, love where you live. We'll take a break. We'll come back with the great Robbie Andreu, and we'll talk to him about Florida, Georgia. He's had a lot of history with it as well. When we return on another duly noted podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another duly noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another duly noted podcast is sponsored in part by the Gainesville Quarterback Club, where they have unbelievable speakers every week during football season. It is an incredible club. It's just like being in a family. I go there every Saturday or every Tuesday. Sometimes I go there on Saturday and there's nobody there, but I go there every Tuesday. You should too. You should be part of it. It's good to be part of a community thing like this, as well as the unbelievable food and speakers and everything that goes on there. I highly recommend it. The Gainesville Quarterback Club. Please come and join. Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast, and it's always a pleasure when we bring in Robbie Andreu into the fray. By the way, I don't know I better not say anything. We'll talk about it off the air.
No, do it.
No, I can't say
What is it?
About somebody else retiring.
Somebody else retired.
Yes.
Do I know him?
You know him very well. I'm not
How
going to
well?
I don't think I can reveal it publicly. I'll tell you
Oh,
later.
okay. Somebody in the journalism field?
I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to be like Dan Mullen when today.
You're going to be evasive.
Today, Dan Mullen was asked about what they did about recruiting, and did he go out? And he goes, "I'm not going to answer any questions."
I heard that.
And I'm like,
I'm not going to do the
I'm
who,
not
what,
going,
where,
"Oh yeah,
when."
we were all out there. We were everywhere." Can't tell you exactly what. Instead, it's like I'm not going to answer questions about that. He didn't answer questions about anything, to be honest.
Not really.
All
So I
right.
guess the quarterback thing's still in the air.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, I got to tell you that Robbie Andrew's appearances on another duly noted podcast are presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website, www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. I will be reading that again later in the show when we do three things.
You
We
did
can
that
still have
pretty well,
going.
Pat.
Yeah, well, I'm when he's got it up there, I can't help it. All right, so Robbie, let's talk a little bit about this Florida Georgia game. First of all, for you and I was thinking about this today. We were children of the 70s and 80s, okay? And by that I
And
mean
the 60s.
yeah, but the 60s we're too young and stupid to know what's going on.
No, in 66 I knew what was going on. That game traumatized me.
It did.
I don't think I've liked the Florida-Georgia game ever since.
I was there.
I don't like it.
I was there. I was there, not there the next year in '67 when Richard Trepp did his thing.
And Wayne Barfield kicked the winning field
But
goal.
I was there in '68. My dad made me sit through a 51-0 game.
I was there too.
I was there in
the rain.
'69, tie game, disappointing, but then it just '70s were just
Oh my God.
nightmare after nightmare, and then of course '80s Florida gets number one for the first time, gets beaten. I mean, so when Spurrier and Meyer and Zook came
Sook
along,
beat them too, yeah.
they went. I got to do the math in my head. 18-3
Pretty
against those
amazing,
guys.
yeah.
So we're sitting there going, Florida owns Georgia, and then all of a sudden we've come along to this kind of weird dynamic where a team wins 3, then the other team wins 3, then the
Yeah.
other team wins 3, and you would like to hope that continues, but I don't see a path to it. But maybe you do, Robbie. So I want to know
A path to winning the game Saturday.
a path for Florida to win the game on Saturday.
It's a tough one, but there's a path. It's a rivalry game, Pat. I mean, look back at the '80 game. Wasn't Georgia number 1 going to that game?
They
Yeah.
were. No,
Okay,
they were
but
number
2.
They were number 2 because Georgia Tech tied Notre Dame that
Okay.
day. Yeah.
But they were undefeated, and Florida wasn't given much of a chance. And they take away the Lindsey Scott play, and they pull the win off. So,
Yeah. That's true.
you know, if it hadn't been for a miracle for Georgia, Florida wins that game, and nobody thought they had a chance to win that game. In the off week, they changed things up. They moved some people around the offensive line. They made Tyrone Young
Well, they went
a
4
go-to
wide.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they went 4 wide.
And Georgia had real problems with them.
They
Florida,
did.
so there is a path, and Mullen will have a good game plan, I think. But it's a matter of whether they execute on offense.
And the question is who will play quarterback. And I will just say this, and I'm going to get asked this question all week. I'm on Feinbaum today,
Yeah.
Frangie doing this, who the starting quarterback's going to be. And here's what I'm going to say. Don't matter. It doesn't matter who the starter is.
Yeah,
It
who
matters
plays more.
Who plays more? Who's in there in the crucial situations? It's my opinion, and I've kind of come full circle on this.
Yeah.
That if I was Dan Mullen, I'd wait another week, because a game this big against a defense like that, all you can do probably is ruin your guys' confidence.
Yeah, but I
So
mean,
go ahead and play them both
yeah.
this week like you normally would. But then next week go, okay, it's Anthony's show. We got 4 softies, and we can get to 8-4, get to a decent bowl, but not a good bowl, great bowl. And then go into next year going, okay, we just went 9-4. We got our quarterback. We got rid of our DC. Let's go. And Gator fans will go, all right.
But I've thought about that too, Pat, about the confidence thing with putting him in there a little too soon. But I think he's ready now. And he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to have problems, issues with self-confidence. I think he's a real confident kid, and I think that Richardson, he'll be fine if he starts. I wonder if Emory starts, what happens to his confidence if he throws an early pick and,
I think
can't move the ball.
He
Then
can't have any confidence.
Yeah, he seems to be, to me, potentially a little more fragile that way than Richardson. So I say go ahead and start the guy that played great last week at times in the second half and go from there. I know it would be a big shot to Florida fans to have him start the game. And I think it would be, give people a sense of some momentum maybe. So I don't know. It's Mullen's call. He'll do what he thinks is best. But
Well,
I just think a change is needed right now.
That's the thing. We're sitting here in a world where Florida leads a nation in interceptions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they were leading the nation in interceptions after John Reese threw 9 in a game.
No, I know.
I don't think they still weren't leading
Yeah.
the country in interceptions. But it's just obviously it hadn't worked really well, and we'll see what happens here. But it is a rivalry game, and somebody was saying to me today, Florida plays different when they see that G on the side of the helmets, and I'm like, yeah, but the trouble is Florida players don't realize everybody plays different when they're playing them.
Yeah,
when they see that script Gators,
Yeah,
they're going to play at a higher level.
They want to kick butt. Yeah,
And sometimes they don't get that. That's the one, and it's not just football; it's every sport.
yeah,
When the softball teams come in here, they want to beat Florida's
yeah.
butt.
They do. But Pat, I mean, if they throw 4 interceptions this game, you're looking at an epic loss in terms of it would be 60-0 maybe. Who knows? If you turn the ball over 4 times against Georgia, that defense,
Right.
and as well as their offense is playing right now.
Well, and the thing is, they're at +3 right now, and they haven't gotten a ton of turnovers. They're at +3. Of course, Florida's at -7.
When's the last turnover Florida got? There were none in the. They had the
They had
pick.
none in the LSU
they had
game.
the pick in the Kentucky game, but it turned into points for Kentucky because they blocked the field
blocked
goal.
the field goal, yeah.
So it was a bad turnover.
It is amazing to me how a team, and this has happened to them before, unless they get a strip sack or a batted,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, they never cause fumbles.
No, never.
Nobody
Had-
ever fumbles against them.
Several years, and Grantham always talks about the Florida standard. Fast, physical, aggressive. I'm not seeing any of that.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a bunch of guys run to the football and going crazy and playing with a lot of emotion. They seem too businesslike almost on defense, like they're, I don't know, afraid to make mistakes.
Well, last year they looked like the Keystone Cops.
Yeah.
And this year they look like Wall Street, I guess. But the bottom line is they just don't make that many big plays.
No. But when you're flying around playing with a lot of emotion, that's when you get turnovers.
Exactly.
Running to the football.
You know who did that the other night, and even though they didn't get a lot of turnovers, was Miami. I was amazed how hard they played.
They played really hard.
And that's something I'm not seeing with Florida. And I don't know.
When has Florida played that hard? I mean, second half of the Alabama game may have been it.
And I don't know how much want to, other than that Alabama game, there is in this team because, you're looking at a season right now where if it ends the way I think it's going to end, Florida's best win will be a 2-point loss.
Yeah, that's
That'll
what
be
it's gonna
their moment in the sun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not the Gator standard, man.
No, it's not.
That is not the Gator standard. And to be honest with you, I'll tell you what the Gator standard is. Dan and whoever else is going to be your defensive coordinator. I know what the Gator standard is. You're not living up to it. So I didn't want to get off on a rant there. And the other thing I was going to say was. Today, listening to his Zoom call, quit complaining about injuries. Everybody's got injuries.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to complain about injuries, LSU could last week.
Well, yeah, and they didn't make any excuses. They kicked Florida's butt.
Yeah. So don't complain about injuries. And the other thing, Robbie, when you saw what Ole Miss did to LSU.
Yeah. LSU couldn't run the ball again.
Couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, of course not.
Of course you couldn't. You stopped the one play they wanted to run.
Yeah. But you look at that breakdown of Florida's defense in that game 2 weeks ago, Pat. They went into that game thinking LSU was going to throw all the time.
Yep.
Thinking LSU couldn't run the ball. They went small up front, and when they were getting gashed, they didn't change. They didn't change anything. And Florida's too small at linebacker. Way too small.
Well, that's what I've been saying. They don't have.
They don't have a
They had one
250
linebacker on the roster, and he got hurt in the second game.
They need a Spikes or a guy that's 240, 250 in the middle. They don't have that.
They don't have that.
They don't have a run stopper in there.
And that's the other thing, I've been thinking about, because we talk a lot about every game is its own game and everything, and it is. Every game is its own game. And even somebody reminded me that I say that all the time when I put that on Twitter, that, man, Gator fans are going to really be mad when they see what Ole Miss is doing to LSU. But they're right. Every game is its own game. And I will say this. I think home field is more of an advantage this year than it's been in a long time for everybody.
Yeah, it seems that
all
way.
around the country.
The fans are back and the noise
came
is
back. They're not behaved very well, but they've come back, and they've come back with a vengeance.
You're talking about the Tennessee fans, of course.
Yes. Well, there's other fans that don't behave well. Like to be doing the Gator chomp as a player's coming out the field because he's injured.
Yeah, that's not
really
good.
Weak.
But who brings a mustard bottle to a football game or a golf ball?
A mustard bottle. I don't know. I've never had a reason. Like if they
Would
didn't
you-
have your
would you-
kind of mustard, or
I don't know.
maybe they had Plotchmans instead of Heinz.
Maybe.
Um,
But have you ever taken a golf ball to a football game?
no, not as a rule. Might accidentally have taken one, I guess. I still
Play
wouldn't have
golf in
thrown
the
it.
morning, kept
But
it
it
in
was
your
a
pocket.
range ball.
Yeah. So
All right, so here's another thing I've been thinking about too, is because we do say that every game's its own game, and this, you know, and this is something that needs to stop in college football. At the night games that are being played, the announcers need to quit saying, "Man, it was a wild day today in college football." Every day is a wild day.
it really is, Pat.
It all you have 50 games that matter, and I'm not saying there's 50 good games. I'm saying there's 50 games a
Yeah.
week, a Saturday that matter, and that includes, you know, Wake Forest and Army,
Yeah.
you know, which was an unbelievable game.
Yeah. And look at the early games last week. You looked at it and go, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Then you turn on Illinois and Penn State and get one of the games of the year.
And you know,
huge
Kansas is beating
upset.
Oklahoma
Yeah.
and all this other stuff that's going on.
It's always a wild, crazy time.
Every week is wild. Summer's wilder than others.
So maybe it'll be wild in Jacksonville Saturday.
Well, it could be.
Very well could be.
I mean, there are people going, but
We had a chance to go. I had a chance, but I declined.
I think I've declined too. In fact, I know I've declined.
Yeah.
But you know, the bottom line is, Robbie, it's not about how good you are and how not good the other team is.
Yeah.
Okay, it's about one thing, as Curly said in what was the name of that movie with I can't think of it. I'm going blank
Curly.
again. With
Curly from the Three
Billy
Stooges?
Crystal and
Oh, yeah.
City Slickers.
Yeah, City Slickers, yeah.
He said it's always about one thing. It is about one thing in college football: how good you are on this day.
Yeah.
It's not how good you were
Yeah.
or how good you might be. It's how good you are today. That's what decides whether you're going to win
Yeah.
or lose games.
Well, that's why Florida comes up with a good game plan, executes and plays well. They're going to be in the game and have a chance to win it, I think.
yeah. How many?
That's a
of
big
these-
if, though.
Is this the first one you've missed since? When's the last one you missed?
Probably, I think, 88.
Well,
I
we
missed.
didn't go last year.
Yeah, we didn't go last year,
Yeah,
so yeah.
we didn't go anywhere last year.
No.
Hardly.
But 88, I think, was the last one where I had a chance to go but didn't. Covering it was. So
What do
that's
you-
a long time.
I did not. I did go to the 88 game. No, I didn't. I went to the 87 game. What do you think about, you know, what the crowd's going to be like and how ugly it could get for Florida? Because I worry that it's just going to be a bad look if they go out there and they don't play well. Because, again, I don't know how hard they're going to play. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to
Well,
wait
for
and
one
see.
thing, Georgia is going to show no mercy if Florida's flat or turns the ball over. They're
Yeah.
going to just go ahead and make a statement in the game. But I think Florida fans are going to show up and they're going to be ready to go and they're going to get, tipsy before the game and fired up. But how long will that stay? It depends on how the game plays
Yeah.
out. But it could be half the stadium could be pretty empty by the middle of the third quarter. That potentially, I'm not saying that's going to happen.
And that was always the greatest feeling during the Spurrier era, especially.
Emptying
Even-
the Georgia side.
Yeah, emptying one side, seeing all of, I know that Tebow talked about how great it was,
Yeah.
But
But Spurrier emptied Sanford Stadium, remember?
He did.
In 95.
he did. That was the last time the Braves won the World Series. Okay? I'm just saying. I don't know what I'm saying, but that's
You're
what
saying
I'm
the
saying.
Braves can win again.
No, I don't know about that. I'm not going to complain.
They truly are going to be America's team on the World Series because the Astros
Yeah.
cheat.
Yeah, they do.
Most people don't like them.
They'll probably be cheating again during this game as well. All right, so let's look at some of the other things that happened over the weekend. In the not much in the SEC was a real shocker. I just don't. I wonder if Alabama's kind of finding its way.
They seem to be, Pat.
Yeah. Again, there's some really. I'm surprised how many really bad teams there are in this conference.
Yeah.
I mean, Vanderbilt, as we know, is terrible. South Carolina
They're awful.
had 15 yards going into the fourth quarter
That's
against Texas
unbelievable.
A&M.
That's awful. But as bad as it is there, look at the ACC, Pat. How bad
They're
are
bad
they?
too. It's a weird year so far. By the way, if I was South Carolina, I would run that same counter play against Florida, just run it over and over again.
Why not?
and just
Until they
see-
stop it.
Yeah, see what you can do. Might as well.
But I mean, Ole Miss had no trouble with the counter play. Kentucky didn't really have a lot of problems with it.
I still can't explain it. To me, it was the end for him. And to me, I know a lot of people can go back and go, well, they were playing pretty good defense against who? Vanderbilt, yes, they were great against Vanderbilt, even though they drove down the field on them and
they controlled the ball in the whole first half too. Vanderbilt did. Florida couldn't get off the field,
right, they were
which has
pretty
been
good
a problem
against USF and FAU.
To their credit, Tennessee game they played pretty well. When you look at how good Tennessee's become on offense, they did a pretty good job in that game.
But the thing about that with Jeremy Pruitt, the thing about with Todd Grantham is he always seems to have those games, and when you take his defenses seem to have really great games and then really bad games.
Yeah,
and that averages into mediocre. So that's what you've got as a mediocre coordinator. And I don't know that there's easy answers there, but
a lot of it I think is personnel too, Pat. I mean, they're not real big at linebacker. They have
but whose fault is that?
I know they have a lot of inexperience in the secondary. They don't tackle well in space, and I'm talking to everybody. Linebackers, DBs, nobody, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't understand why last year the excuse on tackling was, hey, we couldn't tackle in practice and all this. Okay, well you can tackle now. I don't think they tackle in practice anyway once the season starts. But
how many times this year you've seen a guy catch a ball in the flat? Yeah. He's got to get 5 or 6 yards of the first down. There are 3 or 4 Florida guys there, and they can't get him. Somehow they give up the first down. It happens time and time again.
As soon as he catches it, I go, uh-oh.
Here you go.
It's not going to end well. It's hard to understand, hard to grasp. And that's the thing. I've been trying to think, why did this team fool me? And I go back to the preseason, Robbie. And, okay, this is the 4th year of Dan Mullen. We know what's gone. And we just saw what Kyle Pitts is destroying the NFL.
Oh, it's unbelievable how good he is. That one-handed catch yesterday was pretty nice.
Tony is doing great things. I mean, we know Trask will eventually be able to do great things.
Yeah, they were loaded on their NFL talent on offense.
And the thing is, so that you did lose all that stuff, and I do get that. But the one thing was, it was a 4th year, and they had a full roster. Yeah. Now, I know they filled a lot of it on the transfer portal, but it felt like they were too deep at every position. Literally not middle linebacker. I should have seen that.
Now, here's a loss I think people forgot about. James Houston went in the portal.
Oh,
he would be the starting middle linebacker right now.
I know.
And he's playing good. At where is he at? Jackson State? Yeah, I think
somewhere.
I think he's playing really well there. I mean, he'd be your starting middle linebacker. And I don't know why he left. He was playing a lot.
I think because he wasn't going to start because of Ventrell Miller, and they were going with lighter guys on the outside. But
the Miller injury was big too.
But the thing is, okay, so I go into this season thinking they got a full roster. I like these guys. I'm thinking about some guys that aren't even playing. That like Wingo and Lingard and DeJuan Black, guys like that. And I'm like, man, they got a loaded roster. I'm like, well, look, they may not be that big of factors, but they'll help them practice and all this.
Oh, yeah.
So I was sold on this team going into the season. And then the Alabama game came.
And then it's like, they're going to be pretty good.
And I'm like, and then they, after that, they beat Tennessee, which was maybe their best win of the year when it's all over.
Right now it is, for sure.
Yeah. And then I I think this team's about to really show us something.
But in the
end, they aren't that good.
Where I thought it fell in before the year, Pat, I bought into the fact that Emery's going to be this dynamic two-way player. He's a guy like one of those Ohio State quarterbacks that you can't get him on the ground. He's going to throw deep. And I bought the fact that he'd be dynamic, and he hasn't been at all. At times, yes, but not. And he's very inconsistent. He seems to be slow to get the ball out. Guys are open, but by the time he throws it, it's too late. They're not open anymore.
Yeah, I mean he's an average quarterback, but he makes a lot of mistakes. I mean, when you throw 9 picks, that's bad.
And how many times is he in bad positions, Pat, where they put him in a bad position? They turn him into a pocket passer instead of having him rolling out and all this other stuff to take advantage of what he can do. It seems like he's not one of these guys sit in the pocket and throw the ball. You want him on the move, and they too many times they've made him into a pocket passer, it seems like.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a collection of problems, though. The Jaden Hill loss was a big loss.
Yeah, it was.
But again, you can't complain about injuries. Everybody has injuries. Look at Alabama lost their best middle linebacker at the beginning of the year. So they seem to be all right.
The thing is, though, Pat, if they play well in this game and somehow pull the upset or almost win the game, a lot of this stuff is going to be, all the noise is going to kind of quiet down a little bit, I think. about firing Grantham. That I know that's going to continue, but
Yeah, well,
now
it
that
depends
people
on how they lose, though.
yeah, but now people are talking about Mullen being on the hot seat.
Mullen's not on the hot
No,
seat.
I know he's not, but you hear it out there in Twitter world and all that other stuff.
Well, I always talk about real and perceived heat, and the real heat is when the AD's mad at you.
Yeah, and Strickland's not mad
and the
at
big
him.
boosters are
Yeah.
mad, or they want to change, and even sometimes you need your AD to kind of get them off the ledge. And the perceived heat is when guys who don't even go to games are complaining on
Yeah.
message boards.
They're the
or
ones that-
calling our show or calling Steve's Russell.
They're the
You sh-
loudest, I'm telling you.
You should have heard the calls I heard coming in today. They were some of the dumbest calls I've
Yeah.
ever heard in my life.
Unbelievable.
I mean, people just have lost their minds. And those aren't the people that are bringing the heat, though.
No.
Because-
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're
because-
trying to generate, but it's not doing
Yeah,
it.
it's when he gets to a point with his AD. Somebody actually asked this question today. They said, "How many times would you have written Mullen up if you were Strickland?" I'm like, "Written him up?
Why would you write them up?
You only write him up if he commits some, some which he had to for
Yeah.
the thing he got for the show cause." And
Yeah.
but first of all,
That was such a minor thing, though.
yeah, it was. But his office is here, and there's a door between them. All he's got to do is open the door and go, "Hey, got a minute? Yeah, I wanted to ask you about 3rd and 8. Well, he's not going to do that. If you know anything about Scott Strickland, he's a big believer in letting the coaches coach. And then if they don't get it done, they're the ones accountable.
Yeah. And
If
then
you
then
say
you address it.
you need to go get you like he would never go to him and say you got to get rid of Todd Grantham.
Yeah.
And I want you to bring Charlie in. Because then if it doesn't work out, well, it's Scott Strickland's
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
got to be Mullen's call. And that's the way Strickland is. You're right. Let your coaches coach.
He has
And
to.
what may be, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen this week. We'll see. All right, before we go, Robbie, I got to do your favorite thing because I know you look forward to it. This, that, and the other.
Oh, yeah. Then head for the house.
This, that, and the other is brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, which is one of our favorite places in the world to go.
It sure is.
By the Ironwood Golf Course, which is also one of our favorite places to go. And by Darshackow Insurance, which is also one of our favorite places to go and been a great sponsor for our golf tournament in the past. So Ballyhoo, Ironwood, and Darshackow Insurance, all sponsors of, and I appreciate you sponsors so much, man. You're keeping this thing going. I think we're at episode 88, right?
Guys, have been that many? That's unbelievable.
It's hard to believe. It feels like it. though.
We've almost been retired a year.
I know. I thought about
That's gone by pretty quick.
I thought about that the other day, yeah. And maybe we should come back, Robbie, so that they can start winning again.
What's the record?
Although
since
we
left?
were working when Muschamp and McElwain,
Yeah, we were all in.
Zook,
Yeah,
and
that we didn't make any difference there. But what is the record since we left?
4-6,
Good God.
and that's with wins over
FAU.
Vandy, FAU, and USF.
Oh God.
It's not good.
They need to recruit us back in there.
Sources said. All right, here we go with this, that, and the other. This overtime in college football was one of our favorite things, wasn't it, Robbie?
Yeah, it was.
We loved
Was.
college. We loved it. We loved how they played it, and it was exciting. And you would get a game. It could be Air Force and Colorado, and they're going to overtime. Let's
Extra
go.
football. Yeah, you're getting
So you go
excited.
to watch it. It was great. I mean, we've experienced it at the highest level with those Arkansas Ole Miss games
Yeah.
and all those kind of things. So it was great. So of course, that is that they came and said we can't keep doing this for the student athlete. Now here's where I always get mad, Robbie.
Yeah.
They say for the student athletes' health, we can't keep doing this. But we may play 17 games down the road.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to add games on.
Very hypocritical.
Yeah. We could give you an extra bye week, but we don't want to do that. We
No.
don't want to do that and start the season a week early, is what they should do anyway. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do any of that. But they said, nope, we're doing it. We're going to come up with a new format. It's going to make sure we have no more 7 overtime games. And of course, the other, Illinois and Pitt play 9 overtimes.
I know.
And I know people are calling, going, man, you know that game was awful. It was a terrible game. Yeah, until overtime.
Yeah.
And even then, it was still fun, but it took a real for you, I'm sure, and I did too, Robbie, where you're sitting there going, wait a minute, now, they have to score here on this 2-point.
Yeah.
You were kind of trying to get yourself, wrap yourself
And then
around
when
it.
just the 2-point things, I walked away from that thinking, man, it's not easy to make go for twos, I guess. You better have a special play or like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. Or
You needed 9.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they what'd they go 4 in a row without either
nobody
side
did
getting
anything.
it.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But, that is the other. Look, go back to the way you had the best overtime. It was the most fun. I know players got tired. Yeah, well, rest them during the week. You're still going to play all these different added games and everything. Get rid of you can work it out, but I don't like
Yeah, I like the old overtime better.
All right, so that's this, that, and the other. That'll do it for Robbie's segment, brought to you by Hand Law. We'll be back, of course, with the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the weekend, Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack, the Hand Law 3 things, and we'll read that again, and Hesser and Kipke and their Monday spreads. Look forward to that as well. Thanks, Robbie, for coming in again.
Thanks, Pat.
And we'll be having back in a couple of weeks. We always love having Robbie on the show. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast right after this break.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Another duly noted podcast is sponsored in part by the Gainesville Quarterback Club, where they have unbelievable speakers every week during football season. It is an incredible club. It's just like being in a family. I go there every Saturday or every Tuesday. Sometimes I go there on Saturday and there's nobody there, but I go there every Tuesday. You should too. You should be part of it. It's good to be part of a community thing like this, as well as the unbelievable food and speakers and everything that goes on there. I highly recommend it. The Gainesville Quarterback Club. Please come and join.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another duly noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adams Ribco to Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adams Ribco to Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast. Of course, we are live at the Shakow and Mercadante studios. We appreciate Shakow and Mercadante so much for their support of our podcast. By the way, I played in the quarterback club tournament. We just ran their commercial, and they've been great to me. And it was about as much fun as I've had in a tournament. Again, I don't play on my own because I got a lot of work to do. But it was right up there. It was the same kind of. You had a lot of fun, a lot of different things you could do. I thought I had it won, but then somebody came in the last second, and he'll be our guest Friday. Kyle Jackson, the former Florida safety, will be our guest on Friday to talk about his career, and maybe he can tell us what's wrong with the Gators, and also talk a little bit about Florida, Georgia, him being from Jacksonville. So thanks so much to the quarterback club for inviting me. All right, we are going to do our stuff now. We already did a couple of them, but we need to move one of them to Friday because we got 6 on things that are really cool on Monday and 4 on Friday, so we'll probably move one around. Anyway, right now it is time for the Adams Ribco to go, Gator of the weekend, and you may guess who it is. It's not a Gator who's playing now. It's a Gator who's playing at the next level. Kyle Pitts is just, we talked about him, just doing amazing things. Here are some of the stats. First guy, the last tight end to go back-to-back 100-yard games was Raymond Chester back in 1970. Kyle Pitts is the youngest player to catch as many balls as he has through 6 games. And to have 163 yards, was he also the most through 6 games and the youngest player to get over 150 yards in 6 games. That's the way it worked. Kyle Pitts is having himself a year. And it's really showing up with 2 teams, Florida and Atlanta. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that with Florida. You can't bring him back. It's just the way it is. You lose guys, but he was a phenomenal player and continues to do some amazing, great things. So that today, our Adams Ribco to go. Gator of the weekend, Kyle Pitts. Great job by Kyle, and great job always by Adams Ribco to go. It is time now for the Hand Law 3 Things. And, of course, we already did the Hand Law welcoming Robbie in because they're a sponsor of him, but they also continue to be a sponsor of 3 Things. Hand Law is a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Number 1. Quit whining about all the Dodgers' injuries. I already talked about injuries and people complaining about injuries. Injuries happen. You have to play around them. It's the way it is. Like you have to play around officiating. Dodgers, it's like everybody's going, well, the Dodgers retired. They had these guys hurt. The Braves were missing their best player and their second best player. Okay. Ozuna and Acuna, both out for the year for totally different reasons. One tore his ACL, the other was charged with sexual assault. They're different reasons. And without their best pitcher. So that was the whole season. They played through it. They went out and they got things done, as did the Dodgers. They went out and got great players, Trey Turner and Scherzer. And lose because they had guys tired and injured. They lost because the Braves outplayed them. The Braves were an unbelievable team in the last part of the year, and then obviously in the playoffs, and now we go to the World Series. I'm happy. I got a little emotional the other night with the Braves doing that. It's been amazing, just amazing. It doesn't mean they're the best team. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's not about what you were or what you have done in the past or what you're going to do at some point. It's about what did you do today. And on today, which was Saturday, Luke Jackson almost pooped the bed, and then in came Tyler Matzik, who I may name my next kid after, although I don't think I'm having anymore. He was unbelievable. Anyway, those 3 strikeouts would run on the second, third. I get chills thinking about it. All right, number 2. I've talked about this before, how it feels like Georgia is so dominant right now. And a lot of it's because of who they've played, and I mentioned that earlier. They really haven't played good offenses, but still, they're going to play good offense this week, and they may dominate them as well. And I've wondered this question, and I've said before that Georgia picked a great year to have maybe its best team ever. Because I don't know that anybody else is in that category right now. And I start to watch, like Alabama maybe, but the first half of that game against Tennessee, you're like sitting there going, what is wrong with Alabama? Why can't they kind of get things going in the secondary? Ohio State, maybe they're starting to find their way. Maybe Oklahoma is starting to find their way with their new quarterback. But I tell you, it's not even a question of who to put number one this year. There's no doubt. Georgia really, really is good. Now, maybe Florida shows something people didn't see before. You got to have some optimism, right? You got to have some hope. And finally, number 3, you know how much I like to complain about officials, but you do have to play around them. I'm not, it's the way it works. But this kid from Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson, if you haven't seen this video where he scores on a long pass play and the defense way behind him, he does nothing. He might have turned his shoulder just a little bit. He might have taken a little longer stride as he got near the end zone, and they gave him a penalty. And so that meant the touchdown didn't count. They had a 15-yard penalty. Well, the good thing is he ended up catching a touchdown on the drive anyway. But it's still a stupid call. Officials, it goes back to the same thing I talk about all the time. Officials, when it comes to what is a personal foul, what is taunting, what is a personal foul in terms of unsportsmanlike conduct, depends on what conference you're playing, depends on what stadium you're in. No consistency at all. It's ridiculous. But good for Xavier Hutchinson. He almost pulled a Doring. Remember that time Doring scored 3 touchdowns on one series? And it was in Sanford Stadium against Georgia the year they played up there. Caught a touchdown, holding call. Caught another touchdown, another holding call. I think it might have been an illegal procedure. And he caught another touchdown. So he only got 1 touchdown, but he caught 3. So that is our Hand Law 3 Things, again, from the Shakow and Mercandone Studios. And we appreciate Chris Hand, a double sponsor, okay? It's time to go to one of our best sponsors who's been with us all the way. Leonardo's a Millhopper Quick Pick. We did have 3 people qualify this weekend. Scott Hart, Matt Fail, Drew Berry, all qualifying. Drew Berry, I think, has qualified 4 times already. And he's already won, so I don't know. It's going to be hard to beat. So our Leonardo's a Millhopper Quick Picks for this week. At first, my first was going to do something with the Braves, but I went, no, there's a really good Thursday night game. Let's do that. Thursday night, Green Bay at Arizona. Arizona's giving 3.5. So you have to get 3.5 points to Aaron Rodgers. Arizona's playing a really high level. So that's what the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks just went by. In fact, Charlie Cowan, you should have your package either today or tomorrow. For winning the last one. Just went by Leonardo's the other day and got a bunch of gift certificates that we'll continue to give out for the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. We love Kyle over there at Leonardo's. Okay, so thanks for that. Final thing we got to get to, the Hesser and Kipke Monday Spreads. The Monday Spreads are brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based on Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website, www.hklawfl.com, or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. They also on Fridays do the games of the week, but right now we're going to look at some of the spreads. Florida and Georgia. Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite. It really hadn't moved much. I thought it might, like it opened at 14, I thought it might bump up a little bit. They just put the hook on it so far. That's where it's at. North Carolina is a 3.5-point underdog at Notre Dame. And I think Hamilton, their great safety at Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, is out for the game. And that may be an interesting bet to make. Penn State, you got to include them for Ken Hesser. They are getting 17.5 at Ohio State. I would take Penn State and the points. Although, boy, offensively, they were challenged last week. Everybody was challenged, it felt like. FSU's a 10-point underdog at Clemson. Think about that. FSU at Clemson, 10-point underdog. And FSU's, what are they, 3-4 now, I think. And they're only 10-point underdogs. That's how bad Clemson's offense has been. Kentucky, given a point at Mississippi State. Yeah, boy, you would stay away from that because Mike Leach can go this way or this way. You never know. He may go nuts, talk about candy afterwards in the interview, go the other way. And then Michigan, the big game, Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan's a 4-point favorite, even though it's at Michigan State. I like Michigan in this game, but that'll be a game exciting to watch. Also, Miami is getting 11.5 at Pitt. And considering how close their games have been this year, I would think they'll stay close with Pitt. Doesn't mean they'll win, but it probably means they'll stay close. All right, that's going to do it from the Shaq Allen Mercandani studios. We appreciate everybody for clicking on and watching or clicking on and listening. And we'll be back to you Friday. Kyle Jackson will be our guest. We look forward to that, a former Gator safety and, of course, a Jacksonville resident who will talk about Florida, Georgia, and then what it meant to him, among other things. Until next time, I'm heading to DeLand right now to go speak to the DeLand Quarterback Club. That'll be fun. I'll always love talking to them. Next time, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.